Hi, I'm Kathryn Costa from TrueNorthArts.com, and I invite you to travel with me by moonlight. We check in at the new moon and full moon each month, and at each of these lunations, there's a different zodiac sign that has a strong influence of what we may be experiencing at that time. In this series, we get to know each of those 12 zodiac signs and their personalities, their strengths of character. And those inspire us at the new moon as we set intentions, do some wish casting. At the full moon, we often feel a lot of tension, right? So there may be some things inside of us that are bubbling up, that are ready to be released. Well, at the full moon, we look to that zodiac sign for guidance, and we may learn through their example, what are their areas of vulnerability? What are their shadow elements? Where do they get triggered? Because that might be reflected in what we're experiencing in that moment. Now, you have your own unique chart. You can look that up at astro.com and get a free natal chart, putting in your birth date, the day, the time, and the location to pull up that chart. And what you're going to see is that there are a lot of different signs within your chart. But there are 3 signs that are the strongest, that have the strongest influence on you. It's your sun, your moon, and your ascendant. And when we look at my chart, I have my sun in Leo, and my moon and ascendant are also in Virgo. I'm sharing this with you because I'm a double Virgo. So when 2 out of 3 of those signs are the same, it's considered a double. All right. So as a double Virgo, I'm here to let you know I have so much experience with Virgo, and I'm really excited to bring that to this full moon in Virgo video. Let's just do a quick recap of where we've been in this series so far. We started this series with the new moon in Capricorn. And the new moon in Capricorn is a great time for setting intentions and looking at strategic goals of how we want to get there, looking at the foundation we want to build, the structures that will help support us in staying focused in on that goal. And so the mandala that we created at that time had these elements. We've got the symbol of Capricorn and its ruling planet, Saturn. So we learned about not only that zodiac sign, but also its ruling planet. And then at each lunation, I make a connection with a chakra that is one of those 7 main energy centers within you that will help support you in that intention. So we started off by setting initial intention and looking at the big picture of what do we need to set in place, building that root foundation, all right, as we go. Then we came to the full moon in Leo. The chakra here that I chose is the sacral chakra because Leos are known for being highly creative. The tension at this time may be you've set an intention, you're all excited, but then all of a sudden you start having some doubts in your ability to create, taking your ideas and manifesting them, making them turn into reality. So if you've got a vulnerability around that, looking at your sacral chakra will help support you in getting confidence around your ability to create and manifest. Then we came to the new moon in Aquarius. So at this point, we're reconnecting with our intentions and we're looking at it through the lens of Aquarius, which means looking to the future, dreaming really big and say, wow, what are some new and innovative ways that I can view my intentions, maybe dream it bigger, or how might I do things in a new and different way? All right, that's thinking differently. And this brings us to today in this video, which is the full moon in Virgo. And I'm really excited to share with you the details behind this mandala. Now, with all of these mandalas, we work with my stencils from Stencil Girl products. And it makes it really easy to draw these mandalas very quickly. So that way you can spend more time focusing in on those secret conversations that you have while you're adding color and pattern and form and maybe some words to your mandala art. I also will take you inside my journal, my vision journal. So for those of you who are not interested in creating the chakra art, you might be interested in working in a vision journal, which is another one of my favorite places to hang out in. So I'll show you inside my journal as well. All right, so today we're looking at the full moon in Virgo. Let's get started. Here are the elements of this mandala. There are the 4 gates. There's the glyph of Virgo at each of these gates. And I like to think of that zodiac sign as being the gatekeeper, the one who's welcoming us in to the mandala. And then at the center is the heart chakra. And at the corners is the ruling sign, the ruling planet. And in this case, it's Mercury. The featured gemstone is the ruby and fuchsite. I want to share with you some qualities about Virgo, but keep in mind that what I'm going to share in this video is not a comprehensive look at Virgo. I'm pulling out a few different key attributes and qualities in light of being at the full moon. When we come back to Virgo in 6 months, it will be the new moon of Virgo, and I'm going to share so much more about Virgo. Now, you want to learn more about that, be sure you're going to like and subscribe to this video so you can keep connecting with this series and learning more and building on what you learn. Virgo is an earth sign. It's one of the mutable signs, which means Virgo is very flexible and resilient and doesn't get fixated and stuck in any idea. So with a Virgo, they're very analytical, they're organizers, they're very systematic, and they're always looking at how they can optimize systems and routines. They often apply this analytical nature to their own daily routines with a focus on optimal health. Now, being mutable is a wonderful quality for a Virgo because while they get a lot of knowledge about optimizing systems, they don't get stuck in thinking that their way is the only way. So if you can make a case to a Virgo, they're really open for changing their opinions and their views on things because they're more concerned about dialing things in and making things the best that they can. Virgos are planners, they're organizers, they're analyzers, and all that, again, is focused in on those daily routines. So a Virgo at the full moon will be looking at what might be a simple change, something that you can release and let go of that can help improve an area in your life, whether it's your health and your well-being, it may be your finances. Whatever it is your intention, whatever's showing up for you in this moment that needs your attention, Virgo's looking at, well, what is something that you can let go of? Whether it's a limiting belief, whether it's a habit, an old way of being or doing, you can make a shift, a small shift that's going to make a huge difference in the quality of your life. Now, if this is resonating for you at this time, you may want to create a root chakra mandala, placing that root chakra at the center of the 4 gates. That root chakra is great at helping you to get grounded and looking at processes and steps. One of the shadow sides of Virgo is that they can get too analytical. They're really critical and hard on themselves. I'm jumping in here with a little pep talk. You do not have to be a Virgo to have that critic, that inner critic, that narrator who is just caught in a fear-based narrative have a strong hold on you. I see it in every sign. Us Virgos, we really are super hard on ourselves. And as someone who has come so far in this area, I'm here to share with you that the work that we're going to do today, working with the heart chakra, is going to help soften those hard edges, help you to bring a loving kindness and a gentleness, and bring forgiveness. Right? You don't have to be so hard on yourself. I see in people as an instigator of soulful and creative living. When it comes to creativity, people have doubts in their ability, there's shame that comes around, vulnerability in sharing their work. When it comes to soulful living, many of people I see and I get to work with have an insecurity about trusting their intuition. They're claiming their own inner wisdom. At this full moon in Virgo, I'm going to share with you how to work with the Four Gates Mandala stencil paired with the heart chakra. It's super powerful. I designed the Four Gates Mandala stencil to be a tool to use to practice self-compassion as you create your mandala art. Pictured here is a mandala where I've noted those four elements. Each one is a different aspect of the self. At the top, we see the little fluffy clouds, and that is the air element, which represents the mind. When you're creating your art, you may have some critical thoughts that come up, some judgy thoughts. When that happens, be the sacred observer and observe those thoughts. Allow them to show up, but be like a cloud and blow right through, not feeding it energy, not engaging in a conversation with those judgy thoughts, but allowing them, observing them, and releasing them. The element on the right is the water element, and water represents your emotions. There are times when you're creating your mandala art when a memory triggers a strong emotion. You may experience that with tears, sadness. All of this is very healing to allow it to flow through you. It's when we block our emotions that we end up storing that pain in our body. But when we allow them to run through us, acknowledging them, honoring them, listening to them, that allows us the healing aspect of allowing that emotion to flow through us. There are times when we notice our physical body has pain, and that is that third element located at the bottom of this mandala. When that pain shows up physically, here again we show a loving kindness and a compassion. And as we work on our mandala art, listening to that pain, listening to what the body has to tell us. You see, the body remembers everything, and it stores those memories, takes hold in our body. By listening, it allows us to let go of that hold and to release some of that pain. The fourth element that we see on the left is the fire element. This refers to your spirit, your creative spirit, your intuitive self, the inner wise self, that aspect of you that transcends the physical reality. So here, this is connecting with what energizes you and noticing what doesn't energize you and releasing that. Now, each of the zodiac signs are related to an archetype within the tarot, and the Virgo is associated with the Hermit. The Hermit invites you to make time for reflection. The sacred conversations happen when you look within. Seek solitude and isolation from others. This will help you to listen to your intuition and inner wisdom. Meditation, art making, and journal writing are all ways that you can create that space and that container, that time for reflection. This is a time you may reevaluate your personal goals and even change the overall direction. If you take a closer look inside the lantern that the Hermit holds, you'll see a 6-pointed star. It's the same star as the heart chakra, where you have the triangle that's pointing upward and a triangle of the same size pointing downward. And this represents that balance of the material and the spiritual, and the wisdom that comes from opening your heart and working with the energy of the heart chakra. Here is a look inside my vision journal where I've taken some notes about the Virgo and full moon. After I looked at that tarot card of the Hermit, I've always related to the Hermit. And we see that in this print on the facing page of this journal. This is a painting called Betwixt and Between by Leah Peichenkalitis. I remember when I saw this in her online shop and I just had this strong reaction to it. I loved it, and without any doubt, I just bought it. And now, many, many years later, recognizing my double Virgo nature and how much of a hermit I am, how much I love my alone time, and that I seek that out so I can really tap into my intuition, my inner wise self. And I love how it's reflected in this painting that shows the hermit as a woman holding that lantern, talking to the raven in the tree as she enters into that forest. I love the starry sky in the background. You see more of the beautiful artwork of Leah, be sure to look in the description below. Check her out. This journal page is where I've taken some notes about the planet Mercury. Now, each zodiac sign has a ruling planet. Mercury rules Virgo. Mercury is very close to the sun, and as such, its orbit is very short compared to those larger, slower moving planets that have a much longer distance to travel to go around the sun. You'll see that in my journal I've made note of the retrograde phenomenon. A retrograde is when there is this appearance that the planet is moving backwards. It's no longer moving forward. It's an optical illusion that happens when the relative speed of the planet that we're on Earth versus the planet that we're observing. And when one's passing the other, it looks like the other one is going backwards. And because Mercury is moving so fast, we have this phenomenon happen 3 times a year. So if you take a look at my personal zodiac chart, not only do I have the moon and ascendant in Virgo, but there are 3 other planets in Virgo as well. And add to that, Gemini, which is also ruled by Mercury, is in my midheaven. So of all the planets out there, the one that would have the strongest influence on me is Mercury. So I've taken a particular curiosity and an interest in this phenomena called Mercury Retrograde. I'm so Virgo. I love to analyze patterns and actually test out theories. Mercury is known as the god of communication, and popular culture says that during a retrograde that our communication tools may not work very well. There's chances that we'll have problems with our phones, our email, our computers. It cautions us on how we should slow down and not be quick to respond to somebody, watch our words and how we're communicating. In fact, you might want to sleep on it and slow things down, mull things over. It's even advised not to sign contracts or make big purchases. One thing I've observed is a lot of people get caught up on these tales, and there's a lot of fear behind it, and they let it rule their lives. They're giving their power away, and it's impacting the quality of their lives. Now, it's one thing to be cautious. It's another to have that, I think, keep us from living our lives. So, as a Virgo that I am, I have been taking particular note of and watching what happens in my life and the people around me at Mercury Retrograde. I got 2 stories to share with you. The first one happened last summer when Mercury in retrograde happened in the sign of Cancer. Now, my stepmother was selling the house that she's had with my dad for over 40 years and moving into an apartment. And this was happening in Mercury retrograde. And I thought, I didn't say anything because she doesn't follow this stuff and I don't want to throw any kind of fear into the thing. But I was just quietly observing to see what would happen. If popular culture says, be careful not to sign contracts or to, make big purchases, or, right? Selling a house would fall into that. And I know that life does not stop because it's Mercury retrograde. Well, this is what happened. Her realtor put the house on the market. And very quickly, there were all these people like 12 people who signed up to come and look at the open house. And in less than 24 hours, an offer was made exceeding the asking price by like $30,000. And a contract was put on very quickly, less than 24 hours. So I thought, what's going on here? Well, what's interesting is her sun sign is in Cancer. So I have a new theory, and I'd love for your help on this. I'm curious to know, when Mercury's in retrograde, how that may have an impact on those people who have the sun sign that's in the same sign that Mercury's retrograding in. So in this case, it was in Cancer, and my stepmother's sun sign was Cancer. Now, it is said that Mercury retrograde will have a stronger impact on Virgos and Geminis, but I think that it could also have a very strong impact for those people in that sun sign. All right, so I'd love to know your experience with that. This last Mercury retrograde, which just finished up, was in Aquarius. So if those of you have Aquarius in your sign, it could be your sun, it could be your rising, it could be your ascendant, or you may have some other planets in Aquarius. I'm curious, what was your experience with Mercury retrograde? All right, story number 2. Just before Mercury went in retrograde at this time, my husband and I made a decision, we set an intention that we were going to buy a sailboat, our very first sailboat. And we found this boat that was so cute. We loved her name, we loved the way she looked, but she wasn't perfect. In the inside, there was water damage. It was going to need a lot of work and restoration work, a lot of sweat equity on our part to fix her up. As it turns out, the person selling the boat was out of the area and not available to complete the transaction, to sign the paperwork, the bill of sale, and sign over the title until after Mercury retrograde. So part of me is like, this is getting delayed. And of course, there's a part of me that was feeling anxious because we really were excited about this and we wanted to make sure we bought this boat, and we lowballed an offer and they were willing to accept that. We're like, oh my gosh, we want to act on this. But because the availability of the seller put a delay on this, I said to my husband, this is giving us an opportunity to really think about if this is the right boat for us. And as it turned out, we found a different boat that didn't require that work inside it, that actually was bigger on the inside, really met our needs and what we're looking for our first boat. Within this Mercury retrograde period, we met with a couple and we made that transaction. We feel like we actually made some friends in the transaction. They were so wonderful. And it felt like the lesson here is that it's not that you don't make large purchases or sign contracts during Mercury retrograde. It's that you take stock, that you mull things over, that you're not too quick to do it. All right, so if I can pass on a lesson here, and I want you to observe for yourself when Mercury's in retrograde, noting in your journal, are things happening that are interfering with your communication? Are you finding yourself being quick to say something that you might regret later? Is there a transaction that you want to make? And if so, pause and take stock. Take your time. Don't feel you have to be pressured and going too quickly with it. All right, so I want to see that. So tell me in the comments or meet me over at the private Facebook group called The Oasis, where we have conversations around this stuff. As a double Virgo, I tend to be a busy bee, always working. In fact, I tend to overwork. And a phrase that I came across during this retrograde is an Italian phrase called dolce fa niente. And this is going to be, I'm adopting this as my motto for the rest of this year, because my word for 2021 is that it is a restorative year. And buying that boat is going to help me with savoring the sweetness of doing nothing, savoring the moment. The full moon shines a light on the shadow aspects that are showing up in the moment. Two questions to ask yourself is what's ready to be released? What habits, limiting beliefs, or old patterns are no longer serving you and your intentions? Here's another look at my mandala for the full moon in Virgo. And at the very center within the heart chakra, I placed a dove to reinforce my intention of cultivating inner peace. Here's a look at the stencils that I used from Stencil products to draw this mandala. There's the Four Gates Mandala stencil, the heart chakra, the celestial bodies, and the zodiac chart. On the back side of the mandala, I took some notes about Virgo and the keywords and topics covered in today's video. Now, I like to work with crystals and place them on my mandala to further energize my intentions. And I reach for stones that have the similar color because it has and holds the energy that will resonate and amplify my intentions. So here the ruby and fuchsite has the same colors of the root chakra and the heart chakra beautifully combined within it. Three qualities of this gemstone is that one, it helps to promote objectivity. Two, it helps you to understand the issues concerning your daily life and how to overcome them. And three, the energy of this stone will inspire you to accept differing points of view and opinions with grace and ease. I have a very special invitation for you to join me for the only in-person retreat that I'm offering in 2021. It's happening in August at the Dharmakaya Center, located on a beautiful mountain in New York. At this weekend, we'll be creating mandala art that nurtures and cultivates self-compassion, that compassion for the mind, the body, the emotions, and the spirit. Just as we learned from the hermit today in this video, we need time to get away from our daily routines. And what an invitation this is, because you'll be gathering with other kindred spirits. The program is designed to give you plenty of spaciousness for those sacred conversations where you can tune into your intuition, your inner wise self, and to connect with spirit. I'll be leading soul journey guided meditations that will foster that connection with your intuition and also awaken that seat of your creativity and get you into creative flow. For more information about this program, check out my website at truenortharts.com/compassion. And for more information about any of the things that you've seen in this video, check out the description below. Thank you for joining me. I'm Kathryn Costa, your instigator of soulful and creative living.